Darkside is always there, waiting for us to enter, my children. Waiting to enter us. Yes, Tales from the Darkside, the lesser celebrated anthology of the 80s. It was going to be rebooted a few years ago, but it never ended up being made. Except it was. In comic form. Joe Hill, whom we last saw relating back to the Low Woods, brings us these tales, starting with Sleepwalker. I'm wondering if this one also features an eldritch abomination possessing a comic book reviewer. One can only hope! The plan was to have an anthology with an ongoing story. Each one would be standalone, but when viewed together, would have all the pieces match up. Anyway, let's meet Ziggy, lifeguard at Forever Summer Pools. He's living the dream this summer. His mother is away on business, he gets to have parties every night, and 98% of his job is just looking good. 7 out of 10 for me. But as he points out, the thing about living your dreams is that it doesn't leave much time for sleep. He recounts how the summer almost didn't happen. Halfway through his senior year, he overslept and missed his English final. He failed for the semester and would have to take summer school, but his teacher made a deal. A girl named Madeline was doing a special project over winter break, filming a scene from Richard III to get into a Shakespeare study course in England. Help her with the project and get her admitted, and he'd get the A he needed to graduate. They succeeded, Ziggy doing a pretty good job in his acting, and promised Maddie that he'd see her when she got back. But then there were the parties with all the bikini babes, and, well, when she returned, she was less than happy to see him. And unfortunately, he seems to either daydream or fall asleep at his post, and a woman drowns in the water. At the hearing, though, his expensive lawyer hired by his mother has medical evidence that proves that she had a weakness in her heart, and there was nothing he could have done to save her, even if he had tried. Regardless, he still feels pretty guilty over the whole thing, and the woman's husband remains enraged by the whole affair, since he shouldn't have been sleeping on the job to begin with. Ziggy's guilt overpowers his life. No more parties, no more friends, just wallowing in self-pity and insomnia. When he did step outside, he was shocked that the world seemed to move on from the whole thing. Until one day when everything went dark. Flowers wilted, cats with 3 eyes appeared, a fork-tongued crow cawed, and a man yells at Ziggy that this is a Darkside event, and that they don't have much time. But as the event passes, the man collapses and falls asleep. And so too does everyone else around Ziggy. It seems anyone who looks at him falls asleep. He stops screaming for help because anyone who came running just fell unconscious before reaching him. With no other choice, he calls Maddie for help, but she too falls asleep. He puts on the tragedy mask from their Richard III performance, which seems to allow her to stay awake. After explaining what's happening, they are stopped by the husband, who takes them at gunpoint. He wants to kill Ziggy with sleeping pills and then drive him off a cliff. He says he'll only let Maddie go if he agrees. Ziggy, believing himself guilty and wanting to save Maddie's life, agrees. But the husband insists he see his face when he does so, and he falls asleep at the wheel. They teeter on the edge of a cliff, and Ziggy is able to save the husband, but Maddie is handcuffed to the inside of the car. He can't get her out, and she tries to tell him to leave, but he refuses. As such, her last request is to go out on a sweet dream, and thus she goes to sleep as they kiss, falling to their deaths. A tragic end for Ziggy, perhaps, but poetic in its own way. It is to be expected when there is an unseen underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit.
Come in, Xandru. I found him. He's looking at me.
He's an ugly little spud, isn't he?
I think he can hear you, Xandru.